If you have ever thought that clutter was just costing you your space, congratulations, you are wrong. But it's okay. I have been wrong before too, many times. Clutter actually costs you way more than what you realize. And once I really saw that, it was the wake up call for me to say, nope, no more. All of this stuff, all of this foolishness has to go. And so today we're going to get into what clutter really costs and how to deal with it. Let's go. Before we get into it, let me just go ahead and address the elephant in the room, because you are probably like, Christy, where are you? This is still my home. We are just at a different angle. It is Christmas. It is December. We are celebrating all month long. So this will be the December setup with the tree and the fireplace, or the TV fireplace, and all of the fun festive vibes. So let's get into it. First, let's talk about the mental cost. This is the cost that the majority of us feel first, but we rarely connect it back to clutter. Clutter creates this mental noise, and your brain is constantly keeping score. Every pile, drawer, bin, bag that you've been meaning to sort, every cabinet that you don't even want to open, every corner of your home that you mentally avoid, every last one of them becomes a cognitive tab that your brain holds open. And the thing is, most of the time, you're not even consciously thinking about it, but your brain is. And that's because our brains are wired for completion. It loves a closed loop. So whether that is a finished task or a box that is checked off of your to-do list, when something is left undone or is ignored, your brain keeps tracking it in the background, and all of that stuff just piles up. This pile up that happens in our brains, psychologists call this cognitive overload. Basically, it is your brain juggling way more than it was designed to juggle. When you have this cognitive overload that's brought on by all of this stuff, it leaves you feeling drained, distracted, irritable, overwhelmed, forgetful, foggy, because you're living in this constant state of things not being finished, and your mind never truly gets a break. I'm sure you can imagine that it also is very draining to your energy as well. I want you to think of your brain like your phone or your laptop. When you have way too many things open, then it starts to slow down. I am so guilty of that. I'm always having to delete stuff. I'm always having to shut down tabs because I naturally like to open up everything and want to come back to all of it, but it causes my devices to just be really slow. Clutter does the exact same thing to your mind and your body. Your brain has to constantly store all of the things that you haven't dealt with. Your mail, your donation bags, your projects, your piles of clothes. And even if your home is technically clean, you can never fully relax in your brain because your mind is mentally bracing for all of the things that still need to get done. And yes, you heard me right. That mental clutter, it shows up even if your home on the surface, all the surface areas look fine. That was my clutter story, where I would keep everything immaculately clean. You would not walk in and ever think that there was clutter, but I knew all of the stuff that was behind closed drawers, behind closed doors, all of this stuff that I had to deal with, and it was so draining. And so a tidy surface with clutter and chaos hidden behind it, it still counts because it still drains you. Your brain is fully aware of the truth, even when you are trying to hide it from yourself. It knows what's behind the closet. It knows what's behind the sink. It knows what's in the junk drawer. It's like clutter Santa, knows all the things that you got going on behind closed doors. And that's why there are times when small chores or just tiny decisions can feel like a lot. It can feel overwhelming because your mind is tired and full. Once you understand that, you can start to recognize decluttering as an act of mental freedom. So what do? Well, we're going to start by closing a tab. That's all. Not every tab, not the whole room, not the entire house, just one small thing. I am really big on the power of one. It breaks that barrier of entry to just starting. So I want you to pick one area that has been paying mental rent in the back of your mind. Maybe it is a pile of stuff that is on the counter or a box that's tucked into a corner. Pick one small thing or area, whatever that is. Don't let it be something that takes a lot of time or that's overwhelming, but something that you can easily tackle and that you can easily just close that loop. Starting small and even just closing one tab is going to give your brain this tiny hint of relief and space. Freeing up that space and having that small win is going to make you want to continue with it so that you can create even more space and really just start reclaiming your mind. The financial cost. Clutter is expensive. Clutter drains your life through your wallet in two different ways. First, through financial chaos, where you waste hundreds and thousands of dollars on random stuff and poor choices. This financial chaos is seen in a few different things. So first, we have financial confusion, where you don't know what you have, need, or what you have already bought. So you get more to replace it, or you have duplicates. Financial delay, where bills get buried, paperwork gets set aside, deadlines sneak up, and returns end up sitting in a bag until the window of opportunity to return them closes. There's also financial avoidance, where you avoid checking your accounts, you avoid opening the mail, you avoid dealing with anything that feels like one more thing. And also financial emergencies that were never really emergencies to begin with, but now they have become an emergency. You end up paying late fees or expedited charges or grabbing whatever it is that you can find at the last minute because the thing that you actually need is somewhere, but you don't have the bandwidth to locate it. A cluttered environment always leads to reactive rather than intentional spending. You buy whatever feels easiest in the moment and choose convenience over strategy, and you pick these quick fixes instead of long-term solutions. And all of this clutter ends up controlling your financial behavior. So all of that is financial chaos, and that is one side of how it costs you. But the other side of it is in opportunities. We already talked about how clutter is a mental load, and when your mental bandwidth is already drained, you can't think to do things that are going to translate into dollars in your pocket, whether that be pitching an idea or updating your resume or applying for a job or starting or continuing a business. Maybe it's taking a class. All the things that would better you or your financial future, you tell yourself, well, I just don't have the capacity to do this right now. Maybe later, after I get this under control. But later always turns into weeks. Weeks turn into months. Months turn into years. And years turn into regret. It turns into, I wish I would have done XYZ. Clutter steals the part of you that sees possibility, because when your life is full of noise, your brain is naturally going to turn to what is easiest, what is fastest, what is most familiar, what is most convenient. And those things rarely lead to a life of overflow and abundance. And so the financial cost of clutter is not just in what you spend, but in what you never get an opportunity to build. So how do we deal with the financial cost? Here's something that you can do today to start dealing with that financial drain without having to do a massive overhaul. I want you to combine the power of one with the 5-minute rule as it relates to your money. Pick one small space, and for 5 minutes, pull out anything that is related to money. This could be the receipts in your purse or the gift cards in your car console. Maybe it is the bills in your pile of paper clutter or the medical statements that are on your desk. Maybe it is the food that is in your refrigerator or your pantry. For that one space and those 5 minutes, make a decision about what to do with that stuff. Figure out what needs to go in the trash, what needs to be paid, what is worth using, what is no longer relevant, and what are the things that need to be returned if you have things that need to be returned. The reason that many times we don't do things and we don't action the things that we know need to happen is because we're overwhelmed. But like I said, when we start small, then it is going to reduce that barrier of feeling like, oh, I have this mountain of things to do. And it allows us that foot in the door of just getting started and just doing something. Doing something is always going to be better than doing nothing. So start small. The goal of this is to start closing up any financial leaks and to get really clear on how you're spending your money and where your money is going. When you get clarity about things, it puts you back in the driver's seat of your finances instead of constantly making choices that are reactive. And even just those small steps will start opening the door for you to see where there are opportunities that are available and ways that you can do more and generate more income. Reclaiming your financial future is going to start with making some small decisions that have big impacts. The emotional cost. I'm sure that you have recognized, and something that we have talked a lot about on this channel, is that the cluttering can stir up a lot of emotions that you're wondering, where did that even come from? Sometimes it's guilt for really any number of reasons, or embarrassment Maybe somebody unexpectedly stops by your home or FaceTime, and you are really trying to carefully close off what they see, and you find yourself apologizing for your home when in reality you are apologizing for yourself. It could be regret or sadness. Whatever the feeling is, clutter has a way of holding emotions that are really hard to let go. And you find yourself standing in front of a pile or an open drawer, and it's like, how did I get here? Or this was a mistake. I should have used this by now. I thought that I would be further along. I don't even recognize the person that bought this. Most of the emotions that are triggered by clutter have really nothing to do with the stuff at all. It's all about you, about your past decisions, your expectations, your perfectionism, your disappointment, losses, grief, hopes, dreams, all of this stuff. And that's why you hesitate and you avoid certain areas. And then again, weeks or months or years pass and you still haven't dealt with it. The emotional cost of clutter is strong, but it's also subtle because it touches these places that you have just tucked things away for a really long time. To start untangling that emotional weight, you don't actually start with the stuff. You start with giving yourself grace and kindness. As you come to these emotional speed bumps, you have to recognize that there is nothing wrong with having feelings. Feelings are normal and they are human. It means that you care. It means that these things represent a season of life that mattered. But you also have to recognize that it's okay to move forward. We like to ignore or bury our feelings about things. And I know this very well because I am the queen of trying to ignore some emotions that I don't like and things that do not feel good to my heart. I had whole bins full of emotions that were buried and that were tucked away. But that doesn't work. It causes us to avoid the thing that we need to be facing and the very thing that is going to lead to our healing. When you allow yourself to deal with the feelings, then everything in you that has been clenching so tightly can start to relax and those emotions start to lose their power. Then once you allow yourself to deal with it, go slowly. Again, back to the power of one, choose one item that you've been avoiding. And then I want you to ask yourself, what is the story that I tell myself when I see this? How does this reflect who I'm becoming? Am I ready to release it? Go through those questions with yourself enough times, really be honest with yourself. And you'll start to see that there are things that you've held on to that you really are ready to let go of. And that moment feels so good to recognize, oh, you know what? I'm okay letting this go. A lot of you know that my parents passed when I was in my 20s, and that was really the trigger for me to start holding on to stuff because it felt like I was holding on to them. And so I have over the years been able to start getting rid of things. There are still things that I have that I know I need to let go of, but I am so much more open and willing to let things go because I talk myself through those questions and I allow myself to be honest about what this means. Do I really need it? Does it still fit with my life? Am I ready to be able to let it go? Am I still going to keep things? Absolutely, 100%. I'm just not going to keep everything. And whenever I am allowing myself to let something go, I realize I'm not letting them go. I'm just allowing myself to be able to move forward with my own life. Emotional decluttering isn't about getting rid of the thing, but it is about freeing the part of you that is so deeply attached to it. The time cost. Clutter wastes your time every day in small ways that add up really fast. And not just your emotional or mental time, literal clock on the wall, watch on your arm time. Clutter eats up your day through all of these tiny inefficiencies that you barely even notice until you're wondering, why am I always running behind? You start your morning looking for something that you just had, 5 minutes, gone. You open a cabinet, things fall out, and so you have to spend time picking them up. 7 minutes. You go to put something away and you realize that the drawer is overflowing, so you spend another 3 minutes either trying to reorganize it or force it closed. All of those are tiny moments, but together they create this constant time drip. Clutter makes everything take longer than it should. Getting dressed, cooking, cleaning, getting out the door, starting a task, finishing a task, switching between tasks, resetting rooms, doing laundry, opening the mail. The list goes on. Life is not efficient when there's clutter. you end up wasting time because your environment is just not set up for success. Clutter stretches out simple tasks and it steals the time that you could be using for things that you want to do, whether it be hobbies or goals or dreams or time with family or growth. Time is one of our most valuable resources, and every minute that clutter steals is a minute that you can't get back. I realize that clutter and just the natural disorganization that happens when you have clutter is a really pointless way for me to spend my time, because it translated into minutes that were lost, not just in one day, but over the course of how many hours do I end up losing over a week or over like a year? Dreams that get delayed or projects that get abandoned or opportunities that are lost, all because I don't have time for this right now. I didn't want that to be my story. I really just did not want that to be my story. Clutter isn't just a mess. It is a time thief. So how do we deal with the time cost? To start getting your time back, start by removing the friction points. A friction point is going to be any spot in your home that consistently slows you down. And so for me in our home, that is laundry. That has been laundry. Sometimes it still is. It can pile up so quickly because nobody who enjoys folding. If you're somebody who enjoys folding, let me know out there. You are a beautiful unicorn. Me, I hate it. I absolutely cannot stand it. But because of that, it can pile up. And so we have created ourselves a rule that we just, as soon as we wash, then we fold, so that it doesn't become this thing that ends up taking like an hour. It doesn't always happen, but we're doing our best to fold it up immediately. It's something that slows us down, because if laundry piles up, then we are spending time trying to look for, I need XYZ, I'm looking for these socks, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. And so we just decided we can't do that anymore. Let's just go ahead and handle it as soon as possible. So what is that for you? I want you to ask yourself, what is one place that wastes the most time each week? And then each day, go ahead and choose one of those friction points and spend a few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes should be sufficient, but choose one of those friction points to start removing anything that slows you down. Take out the obvious trash, remove what doesn't belong, or immediately rinse off the dishes and put them in the dishwasher, like my husband loves to tell me to do. I like to leave them in the sink and deal with them later, but he usually ends up dealing with them and it causes friction for him on the back end. Here's the deal. Your goal isn't to make it pretty. It's to make it efficient. You want it to be easy to access, quick to clean, and fast to find things. When you remove friction, you gain minutes back. Those minutes give you bandwidth, and that bandwidth gives you motivation. That motivation turns into consistency, and consistency turns into time to do more than manage clutter. And that is going to give you your life back. I could go on and on and on about all of the different ways that I have seen clutter cost in different areas of my life and how it might be costing in your life. But we're going to start here, because even just starting with these 4, your mind, your finances, your emotions, and your time, you are going to see the impact of it and that shift immediately. For me, this is where a privileged mindset comes in. I talk a lot about having a privileged mindset, and I think about it in a way that is very different. No, I am not talking about money or status or any of this other like random stuff that we end up attaching to privilege, but I'm talking about the decision to see yourself as someone who has access to a great life and showing up for yourself in ways that reflect that. I attach almost everything to this privileged mindset because it was how I started shifting and seeing myself as different and seeing my life actually line up with how I was seeing myself. When you start tending to these 4 areas, you start stepping into privileged energy. The version of you who protects your peace, who honors your time, who makes clear decisions, and who steps into your next chapter with confidence. And on a spiritual note, as a Christian girly, it matters too, because God calls us to freedom, but we can never fully experience that freedom when we are tethered to things that drain us. Clearing those areas is how we loosen those ties and we create space to step into the life, the dreams, the purpose, and the calling that He's preparing for us. So we are starting that now, even before the year ends, and carrying that all the way into 2026. And if you know that 2026 is the year that you are ready to show up differently, check out my Declutter Your Life 2026 digital calendar. It is going to walk you through the process of decluttering your whole life from the inside out. I love it so much. I put so much work into it, and so I cannot wait to start using it, and I really think that you're going to love it as well. So check it out using the QR code that's on the screen or the link that's in the description below. Alrighty, my friends, if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and share it with someone else who needs it. Also, if you're not subscribed, like, what are you doing? I'm gonna need you to jump on that. I love you so much, and I will see you in my next one. Mwah. Bye for now.